inspirational, empowering, spiritual. This is the Way Christian Talk. Hello, everyone. It is so good to see you all. I am Shelly LJ, and you guys are on the Way Christian Talk. It is so good to see everyone. And I thank you guys for coming on. I thank you guys for joining us on the Way Christian Talk. You can see at the bottom of the screen all the ways that you can watch us on Facebook, on YouTube. Make sure that you share. Make sure on YouTube that you subscribe. Help a sister out to get those algorithms up. Help us by subscribing, click share, and like. I thank you guys for joining me on the Way Christian Talk. You guys are the reason why I'm here. You guys are the most favorite part of my show. I want to make sure that you guys, please, if you have some questions, if you want to comment, if you want to just say hello, just go ahead and comment. I would love to hear your feedback. I would love to hear what you have to say. I would love to hear you be a part of this show. I am not a spectator. I want you guys to be a part of my show. I don't want you just to be a spectator either. So, all right, guys, we have a lot of things going on in the world. And one of the things that we have going on in the world, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but I do want to talk to all of you about voting. Yes, I do. If you are not registered to vote, or if you don't know your status of your registration of voting, you can go to www.rockthevote.org and find out your status, where you're supposed to vote. You can actually sign up to vote. So there's no reason why we can get our 18-year-olds that are finally able to vote. We can get them registered to vote to make sure. We can make sure that we're registered to vote. You know, it's going to come up with some shenanigans about, oh, you're not supposed to be here, you're supposed to be over there, you're not supposed to be here, you're supposed to be over there. And now we have a system that we can go on, rockthevote.org, and find out exactly where we're supposed to vote. So I definitely want you guys to go ahead and vote. Now, another thing I want to talk to you guys about is we have something really, really special. My good friend, Shonda Orlesia with Inspiration 98.7, every year, she gives um, a event, and it is called the Sneaker Ball. And this year, what the Sneaker Ball is all about is giving back to the community, is a way that she can make sure that um, she gives back to the community. And the way that we do this is the way that she does it is that she has a sneaker ball. Now, within this sneaker ball, you can nominate a family. She's going to pick 5 families this year. And within those 5 families, they are going to gift the whole family, not just the kids, the whole family gifts. So if you have someone that you would like to nominate to receive gifts this Christmas, the way that you can do it is at the bottom of the screen, or you can go on her Facebook page at Shonda.Orlesia. You can go to the website that is at the bottom of the page, www. That whole website. You can copy that and go to the website and be able to be a part of the sneaker ball. Now, the deal is, in order for you to get your gifts, in order for the babies and the adults to receive their gifts, you have to attend the sneaker ball. This is not one of those things that you can get nominated. You can nominate your sister, you can nominate your auntie and your cousin, you can nominate your next door neighbor with 5 kids. You can nominate as many people as you want. The nominations are only until September 22nd. She's only going to be taking nominations until September 22nd. Once you go to the website that's at the bottom of the screen, you will be able to nominate. You will be able to nominate how many people that you want. You have to fill out the form, send it in, but you have to attend the sneaker ball. Now, the sneaker ball is going to be in Georgia, in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm not sure exactly where the location will be. All of that information, I'm sure, will come at a later date. But this is, last year, she was able to nominate 5 families, and it's just not the kids, it's the mom, dad, kids, whoever's in that house that is being nominated. They will be able to receive a gift. Last year, she nominated someone won. The whole family won. I'm not sure how big the family was, but the family did not show up to the sneaker ball. And so anytime that I get to get cute and wear sneakers, which are my favorite shoes, and wear sneakers, I'm all in. So this is the chance that you get to get cute. You can put on your dress and dress really nice and wear your sneakers. And it's for a good cause. The tickets are going to be on sale. There, all that information is going to be on her website, Shonda Alicia website. You will be able to go to her Facebook page and find out all the information about the tickets, how much the tickets cost. You'll be able to find out information about nominating your families. And I don't know when they're going to pick, but I know that you will be getting an email or a phone call from Shonda herself. Now, just to tell you a little bit about Shonda, she is the founder and CEO of Inspiration 98.7. That is the radio show that Tell Me How You Really Feel, The Way Christian Talk started on. And so this is a very good radio station. And so this radio station is for everyone. That is at the bottom. You can see it's Inspiration 987. You can email her at Shonda Alicia if you have more questions or you want to find out more information. To listen to the radio, you can go to inspiration987.airtime.pro and you can listen to the radio. The sneaker ball is going to be a lot of fun. Again, if you have a family that you want to nominate, please, please do so. I have my own choices, but I'm still thinking if it would be fair since I directly know her. I don't know. So, anywho, I want you guys to make sure that you nominate a special family. Now, to get to what we all came here for, and to find out that information, we all came here for to find out information. Make sure that you guys share on Facebook, share on YouTube. Please click subscribe on YouTube. Click subscribe on YouTube and share and like. Alrighty. So tonight I have a really special guest. I first met and talked to this special woman some time ago. And I told her, I said, I want to have you on my show. I really, really want to have you on my show. And so she said, okay. And at the time my schedule would not allow me and her schedule would not allow me until today. And so we have a really special guest. Her name is Sherri S. Wick. Now, Sherri is not just an ordinary individual lady. She is a clinical mental health professional. She's a speaker. She's a consultant. She's a facilitator with a proven record of captivating audience nationwide through her transformation presentations. She holds a dual license in Illinois and in Texas, and she's showcasing her adaptability and being a derived background in community of mental health counseling. Now, Sherri is a unique gift. You know, she lays in her life the ability to facilitate self reflection and empower individuals to make mentally healthy, valued aligned decisions. Sometimes we all can get a little off balance. I'll put it that way. We all can get a little off balance. And, in our community, sometimes we look down on someone that says that they're a coach or that they're a therapist um, or they're a licensed professional. And we don't need to. We need to get the help that we need. Now, Sherri is going to tell us a little bit more about herself, so I'm not going to wait any longer to have her on the show. Hello, Sherri.
Hello, 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 Shelly.
How are you?
I am fantastic and grateful to be with you and our guests today.
I'm grateful that you're here too.
Thank
We've
you, thank
talked
you.
and it seems like we're just girlfriends.
Absolutely.
We've talked and we've talked about so much stuff of what's going on in
Hmm.
our lives and what's happening, within
Yeah.
our worlds. And
Mm.
and it just seems like that we're girlfriends. I thank you guys for being here on Inspiration 98.7 on YouTube, on Facebook, on the Way Christian Talk with me and my friend Sherri.
Hello.
Hello, Big C's Beats. Big C's Beats is one of my sponsors. He makes all of my beats for my shows. So
All right.
shout out to Big C's Beats. What's going on? Now, Sherri,
Yes.
I really did not do you justice with your biography.
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right. I'm here.
You're here. And
Hmm.
so, you can do so much better than I can when it comes to telling people who Sherri S. Wick is. Who are you?
Hmm. That's a big question. And I say that's a big question because who I am today is, of course, different from who I have been. As far as just the way life has taken, what I could say that has remained or
Mhm.
stayed is, and my mom would even tell you, I was always listening. I was the
Mm.
only child. It was my mom and I, so I was always in spaces with grown folks, just listening,
Mm.
just listening. But it was a wonderful experience to be able to listen because what I found was I heard a lot about faith. I heard a lot
Mhm.
about God, not just being, growing up in the church, but just even outside the home. But I also
Okay.
learned about life,
Right.
suffering, and challenges. And so
Mhm.
I would first say is I'm a listener. I'm definitely empathetic,
Mhm.
and I'm a big ball of lots of energy, lots
Okay.
of wanting folks to feel connected,
Mhm.
which is why I'm grateful that we met because instantly there was this connection. We were able to
Mhm.
just jump right in. And so to me, that often shares that I can be, if allowed, a safe space. So when you
Mhm.
say, "Who am I?" I believe that I'm someone that's a safe space, someone to talk with.
Mhm.
Hence the therapist. I'm a believer. and a wife, a mom, a dog mom, my daughter. And one of the things that I like to say is I believe that all people have the right to live a healthy life. So I like to say I'm your biggest fan. I
Mhm.
want what is the healthiest for you to live an optimal life. And
Mm.
that's the core of me. And
Mhm.
then I'm a clinician, as you said,
Mhm.
in Illinois
Mhm.
and Texas,
Mhm.
actually from the suburbs of Chicago. So
Mhm.
lived there all of my life
Okay.
until recently moving to Texas. I am an entrepreneur, so business owner. Holistically Divine Counseling is my business, so I have that hat as well. So both clinician and business owner, a mentor, a friend. Um, but really, I would say the most important to me is that when people are with me or around me, that they feel a sense of safety. Because oftentimes we're walking around and we don't feel safe, especially when we're
Mm.
with others. So,
Okay. Okay. That, it's important. I think the job that you do is very important. Um, I have worked with adults with intellectual disabilities
hmm
for
hmm
20 plus years.
wow.
And so I've learned mental health in in a different way through eyes of
hmm
people that need that everyday
hmm
assistance.
hmm
But
hmm
I
hmm
also have learned how to live, how to be happy, how to bounce back,
hmm
how to be resilient because of them.
hmm hmm
We had I took care of a gentleman that was nonverbal, that was had been abused verbally, physically, that had been
hmm
abused, and every day, Sherry, every day when I first met him, all he could say was "Pickaboo,"
hmm
but every day he "Good morning, good morning," and
hmm
one day I was in my I was in my mood. I was in my, this is too dang darn early to be waking up. I should have
hmm
to be la, 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 la,
hmm
la. I was in my mood. I was in my feeling.
hmm
And he came and he didn't know space boundaries. So he came very, very close to you. And he said, "Good morning." And I couldn't do anything except laugh.
Good morning. Yep. Yep.
And I learned, if you, after what you have been through,
Yeah.
can every day get up with a smile on your face,
hmm
get in someone else's face and say, "Good morning," then I can too.
You can do it too.
And I learned the gift of perseverance and the gift of resilience from them.
hmm
I also learned that, I said it before I came on, in our community, we look
hmm
at we don't look at mental health and get the assistance that we need.
hmm
There were so many people that I told them, there's so much resources and financial resources that are there for you to get help with your person. There are so much resources that are there for you to get help.
hmm
There's so much resources, but you have to go after it. And I would get a lot. "Oh, ain't nothing wrong with him. Ain't nothing wrong with
hmm
her."
hmm hmm
You
hmm
know, "Ain't nothing
hmm
wrong with me." And until I went through a bout of depression myself, I went to the doctor. I don't know if I ever shared this with you. I went to the doctor, and now the doctors are asking you a lot of mental health questions.
Absolutely. They are. They are.
Um, when they do their first evaluation, when you first come in the office, they go through a lot of
Mhm.
questions. Have you ever thought about
Mhm.
hurting yourself?
Mhm.
Have
Yeah.
you, are you sad? And, do you not eat or for these reasons? And she said, do you think you're depressed? And I just started bawling. I
Mm.
mean, just like boo-hooing bawling.
Mhm.
And that's when I realized, I said, I think I am. Not wanting to get dressed. I just thought it was normal. I didn't want to get dressed. I didn't
Mhm.
want to get up and
Mhm.
start my day. I didn't want to, you know, feel happy. And so realizing that I was depressed, I had to also go through a state of realizing why
Mhm.
and working
The
through it.
root. Mhm.
And it's 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 work. Your job on the other end to help us through our issues, it's a lot. And y'all, let me tell you, it's just not going into an office, laying on the couch. It's nothing like what we see in TV.
No. 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 No.
It's
No. No.
nothing like what we see in TV.
Mm-mm.
Somebody doesn't have a notebook saying, Shelly, tell me how you feel today. Not anybody that helped me,
Mhm.
it was hard questions that I had to really
Sure.
think for myself. No one was telling me. So one of the questions that I was given before the show was, what type of people need your help?
And I appreciate that question. And it's also going to connect with something I was going to say as you were sharing. So, all people can, if allowed, benefit from therapy. And if you
Okay.
don't want to go to therapy, go into coaching. Go have someone that's certified that's a coach, right?
Mm,
First of all, finding a licensed clinician, that's so important. And even if you're working with someone who is maybe a rising clinician or a rising therapist, they are still under a fully licensed individual. So
okay.
please make sure that's important for me to share. Check credentials.
Okay.
The other is for the work that I do, I'm working with anyone and everyone that is saying, hey, I'm noticing that something is off,
Mhm.
that my thoughts are pretty powerful in negative ways. And it's interrupting my day to day. It's interrupting what I want my life to look like. Or, hey, I
Mm.
noticed that I have a really unhealthy, unhelpful, and some language you'll see is toxic.
Mhm.
I'm very mindful of my language when I'm using it. So I like to use the word unhelpful or hurtful, right? I
Mhm.
have an unhelpful or hurtful relationship with my best friend, my mother, my father, my sibling, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And
Mhm.
sometimes, many of my clients, even prior to opening my own business, they were impacted by sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, right? Verbal abuse, right?
Mhm.
Which we would, if we were talking to that client, they might say
Mhm.
that was traumatic for me,
Mhm.
right? For that client. So I have been able to work with children
Mhm.
all the way up to people in their 90s, which is so
Mm.
amazing to see someone, right? See clients in their 90s um, wanting a safe space, a safe space to say, hey, this is what I'm going through. Can
Mhm.
you guide me or walk with me or
Mm.
uh, help me to understand more tools and resources? And that's another thing. Therapy is, you would often hear that therapy is just talk therapy,
Mhm.
but it's also a place for you to share, the clinician to support you, to say, hey, have you considered this resource, this therapeutic technique, this homework, this book? There, it can be so integrative. And of course it depends on the therapist's style. So I'm really
Mhm.
talking about my style. I like to say this is um, truly your space, and you've invited me to walk alongside you, and
Mhm.
all the resources that I have, I'm going to implement it in each session essentially. um, but it's really those who have the ability to, um, you know, clients that work or even don't work, maybe they work at home. They're a domestic engineer, right? That's the new term.
Oh, I like that. I'm gonna
Stay
have to
at
use
home
that.
parents. Yeah.
Okay.
Kudos to LinkedIn for creating that domestic engineer. So you could put it on your LinkedIn profile. And that's another thing. I incorporate career development. And I really work with the 8 dimensions of wellness. So it's not just like the psychological training, my master's program, and then my clinical. It's also this healthy living. So the 8 dimensions. The 8 dimensions are intellectual wellness. So what is stimulating your brain? Radio stations, podcasts, books, right?
Mhm.
What is actually activating your brain and allowing you to go deeper. And
Mm.
within the brain, it's called neuroplasticity, our brain's ability to
Mhm.
rewire and stretch and grow and
Mhm.
learn and unlearn things. The other is spiritual wellness. Spiritual wellness is, who are you connected with, right? Are
Mhm.
you di- directly or divinely aligned with? For some clients, they're higher beings, right?
Mhm.
I work with a lot of clients who are going through religious trauma and they're wanting to unlearn and really
Mhm.
align with spirituality.
Mhm.
Uh, and that's a new population that I started serving when I opened up my private practice, because a lot of people have suffered from religious trauma,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Very much
It's
this,
very real.
it's very real, very, very
Very real.
real. And then so that was intellectual, spiritual, occupational. What's going on in your work life? Is it healthy or is it the word toxic, right?
Mhm.
Do you feel like you're being shamed, or do you feel like you're not being seen or heard or passed
Mhm.
over? Working with clients in that way.
Mhm.
Environmental, the home in which you keep. What does your space look like? Your office space, your home space? Guaranteed that if it's pretty cluttered or overwhelming, it's also overwhelming in your brain, right?
Mhm.
So all of these dimensions, and I can continue going over them, but really all of the dimensions are based in, what's your relationship with
Mhm.
financial wellness? What's your relationship with money? Do you
Mhm.
have an unhealthy relationship with money, right? Your
You
relationships. Go ahead. Yeah,
you
please.
know, I didn't realize that there was a connection
Oh,
to
absolutely.
mental health and money.
Oh, yes.
I did not until I started getting help. I had a life coach. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember I can't remember her company name, but her name is Sidra Rivers. And
Mm-hmm.
I had a life coach, and she was my life coach. And she helped me to connect money with where I was at mentally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so that was a big one. But let me
Mm-hmm.
ask you a question. How did you get
Absolutely.
into this? How did you get into the field of mental health?
I, well, a few things. One, like I said, I was always listening to grown folks' business. Although, just like you pointed out, that our community, first of all, you often hear you can't make a living doing therapy, but then also you didn't hear about that. I didn't hear about that growing up.
Mhm,
And there's a pivotal moment in my life that helped me to realize why this is important, and
mhm,
um, why I want to be the one to support people along the way. And that's what also connected me with doing career work as well. So
mhm,
it was about 14 or 15. I
mhm,
was in high school and going into high school. And my mom, Black mom, tough mom,
mhm,
right? Working in IT,
mhm,
often, always during that time, the only Black woman. And so
mhm,
she had to what? Stand her ground, stand on
mhm,
her own, really hold it down. As she did for the family. So knowing, didn't not knowing, I didn't know at the time how difficult it was, right, for
for
a
her.
woman to,
Mhm,
right, yeah, because she wasn't coming home sharing that with me. That's
mhm,
one thing that I'm grateful for, that my mom didn't kind of divulge and tell me all of the challenges, because that would have impacted my own mental health, right?
mhm,
So I work with clients that are trying to unpack that, like, hey, I was 7 and I was learning about this type of trauma. I'm
mhm,
grateful that that wasn't my story. What I did learn, though, was there was one moment. It's an imprint. I like to call it an imprint. It's something that is magnificent or challenging, a big issue that has impacted and left an imprint on your life.
mhm,
She came home one day and she was crying, and I hadn't really seen her.
Mhm.
crying.
Mhm.
Not unless it was someone who has passed, right? That
Mhm.
makes sense. But she's crying from work, and essentially, as I'm listening,
Mhm.
her job used her as a lesson to other employees, right? As a scare tactic, because she's the employee that's always on top of her game, always dotted her I's and crossed her T's. And because they were eventually doing layoffs, essentially the message was, if she can get laid off, everybody should be afraid. And to me, that hurt, right? Not just hurt, but that made me angry, right? At this age, that I know my mom works hard. I knew her routine, right? I knew her schedule, always at work on time, always leaving on time, getting the work done. And so for me, that was wow, like if someone walked alongside her, right? I wonder could have what what could have impacted her, in a healthy way, right? If
Mhm.
someone walked alongside her, if she had a clinician that she could talk with, how could that have impacted her, right? And
Mhm.
so I said, okay, I'm going to be that person. And
Mhm.
I believe that is another reason why I enjoy working with folks that are in corporate spaces, especially because
Mhm.
I have this story, I have this imprint, that at a young age.
Mhm.
I also, at a young age, experienced a lot of loss. You grow up in the church, and most of the time your family is related somehow. So
Mhm.
sister so and so passed away, and brother so and so
Mhm.
passed away, and so I was the young girl at many of the funerals, and so saw a lot of grief and loss. Um, and so, hey, I went to undergrad and then went to grad school and fell in love with my program, and I haven't left it since. And I'm going to remain in it. We help to encourage folks that their life is so important, because
Mhm.
it is. It's just the tools. That is really what we're missing. We are missing the ability to use tools that can help us think rationally and healthily, rather than thinking from what has been passed down, which is a lot of generational, and societal trauma, truly, right?
You
Familial
know,
trauma.
are you still getting a lot of clients that are still dealing with the COVID?
Co- oh, absolutely. It's almost like a delayed after effect, right? Because
You
it was
know,
a
and I
shock.
can relate. It is so much happened
Yep, yep,
in COVID.
yep, absolutely.
So much happened. You know, I appreciate, someone asked me, or long, long, long time ago, do you enjoy being a black woman? And I said, I love it. I love it. I love being black. I love being an African American. I love having the cloth that I've been cut from.
Hmm.
But that cloth also is such a durable cloth that it forgets to get put in the washing machine sometimes
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
it's so
Technology.
durable. It's
Hmm.
so,
Hmm. Hmm.
you don't have to wash it all the time.
Hmm.
Going through when going through COVID, my mother had a stroke. We couldn't go visit her. We couldn't go see her. I had to, she hated the food while she was
Hmm.
recovering. So every day I
Hmm.
made her food and took it to her, but I had to hand it through
Someone.
a nurse.
Mhm, mhm.
Never thought what that what that did to me. I couldn't
Absolutely.
stop
Mhm.
and think. We
No,
as a community, we have learned how to pick up our bootstraps and keep it going. We
we
have
are operating out
learned
of survival.
we
Oh,
are
yes.
operating out of survival
All day, every
mode.
day.
And, then my dad, then he passed away and it was still in COVID.
Mhm,
So after it was all over, I was so used to being in that, come on,
mhm.
what's next? Come
Yeah,
on,
fighting.
what's
Yeah,
next?
absolutely.
And I remember someone said, God has placed you in a time of rest.
Mhm.
Sherri, I didn't know what to do with myself.
No, of course not.
I
Because
didn't
when was
know
the last time you rested?
I did not know what to do with myself. I looked for
Mhm,
arguments. I looked
mhm,
for
mhm.
and I remember talking to my bishop at the time, and I said, I don't like this. I
It's
don't know what this
uncomfortable, right?
it's very uncomfortable.
Yep.
In a time of rest, I didn't
Mhm,
understand what that meant,
mhm.
especially a time of spiritual rest when
Absolutely.
God takes everything and he's blessing you and kissing you and he's
Mhm,
taking everything away from you so you won't have to worry about it and
mhm.
everything is going good. I didn't know what everything going good felt like in so long that I
Absolutely.
didn't know what to do with it.
Mhm, mhm,
And
mhm.
so, spiritual wellness is so important.
It is, it is. And so let me give you a visual. So the idea is of what you just described. So the idea is our brain, the primitive part of our brain, the goal is to survive. That
Mhm,
it knows how to do very well. That's the main function of the brain is to survive and keep us safe.
mhm,
What happens is when we go through fight or flight, our brain also and our body is supposed to, we're built to go to fight or flight because that's
mhm,
protection. But
mhm.
then we're supposed to come back around to homeostasis, a
Mhm,
place of calm, of balance,
mhm,
rest.
mhm,
Like you described, essentially this being wired to survive. That
mhm,
is passed down. So you talked about how that's what you knew, right?
mhm,
Most of us know that.
mhm,
And what happens is we get exhausted.
mhm,
We're not seeing the fruits of our labor,
mhm.
or we're seeing that we stay in this cycle over and over and over again, and it never seems to end.
That we
And so
don't
when
recognize
we
the
don't
fruits of our
recognize
labor.
and
We
we
don't
think it's our
recognize the
normal.
blessings. Right.
Yes, 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 yes. And we think we often think that it's what we're supposed to have, and it's
Mhm,
not. Right? When we are resting and restful, and we also experience this spiritual rest, the
mhm,
idea is we are in this space of calm. So now our cells are doing what it's supposed to do. Our bodies, right, restoring the way it needs to restore. We're also inviting God in to heal our body instead of fight it, fight it, fight it. Okay, Lord, go ahead, heal me, heal me, heal me. But we're not giving any room.
For that
But
healing.
exactly. But here's what we know. Oftentimes we know what we know, and then we don't know what we don't know. And
Mhm,
so this is I like to tell my clients and just people who I'm talking with is just notice yourself, notice your body. Are you operating in alignment? Meaning, I just had this thought. Is it yielding? Is it bringing up this
mhm,
emotion that's supposed to connect, right?
mhm,
You see somebody that you care about and they're suffering. The emotion that you feel is
mhm,
sadness or
mhm,
hurt. You wish you can help them. And then the behavior then, which is
mhm,
aligned, is something that would potentially be supportive.
mhm,
But oftentimes we're misaligned. My thought
mhm,
is this, my emotion is this, and my behavior is this.
mhm. And my action is something completely different.
Correct, correct, correct. It's like
Mhm,
walking in a zigzag, right? You're just
mhm,
all over the place. You're
mhm,
not getting to a destination, or
mhm,
you're in this cycle. You're on the hamster wheel, and so there's so much. And I wanted to also say, mental health. It is about well-being. That's
mhm,
what it is. You need your mind, you need your
mhm,
thoughts, you need your emotions so that you can
mhm,
operate, so you can function in healthy ways rather
mhm.
than hurtful ways.
I
And
learned how to meditate.
ooh,
And I think meditation was such a big part of me being able to breathe and
mm-hmm,
me learning how to breathe.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What are some of the tips that,
Ooh,
that we can give our audience
yes,
that some realistic tools, maybe one or
yes,
two tools that because we can become overwhelmed with tools. It's like
we can, we
try to
can.
go and, try to do all of them.
Yes.
But what are maybe one or two tools that we can take and say, okay, if any of these scenarios
Mhm.
that we've been talking about,
Mhm.
mental health,
Mhm.
spiritual well-being,
Mhm. Mhm.
physical
Mhm.
well-being,
Mhm.
thinking clearly,
Mhm. Mhm.
trying to align our actions
With
and
our
our
thoughts and
words
emotions.
together and
Mhm.
have an emotional well-being in that. How can what are maybe one or two tools that we can do to just start?
Mhm. So the first would be self-reflection. So again, we don't know that there's an issue because we're not self-reflecting. So the first is thinking about, hey, is this how I want my life to be?
Mhm.
That's it's a simple question, but it's a loaded question.
But let me
And
ask you a question
yes,
before you get into self-reflection. Is
hmm
self-reflection the same thing as doing a self-inventory, or is it different?
yes, it's the same thing. The inventory brings up this, like you have your notebook and you're assessing almost
Mhm,
things in your life, things that you want, things that you don't want. You're kind of running through. You can either have like a prouds list, like I'm proud for doing all these things, or I'm
mhm,
congratulating myself, or here are the things that I'm not liking about myself. It's
mhm.
the same. How we get there is I am looking within.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna
Okay.
look within. I'm gonna ask myself this question of, hey, like how do I want my life to look, or how does it even look now,
Mhm,
right? And then I'm going to assess and write it all out on a journal aloud. Now, sometimes that's hard. Sometimes
mhm,
that's difficult. But if you're not able to turn within, then think about, hey, the people that I trust that are healthy, that
mhm.
know me and I feel safe with, what are some things that they're noticing about me? Like, hey, I noticed that you're not breathing intentionally. Or I noticed that you don't really exercise as you said you wanted to. Those
Now,
make your ears perk up. You
okay.
said it though. You said it though, Sherry.
Okay, but sometimes, people take those opportunities and it feels more of a jab than a help.
So there's you're spot on, which is why I said safe. People who
Okay.
jab are not safe. You're not
Okay. Okay.
asking to be in
Okay.
a boxing ring. You're asking to sit next to someone. Think about you and that person sitting on a beach. You
Mhm,
all are just hanging out. The ocean is calm, can be calming and
mhm,
soothing, and you're in conversation with each other, right?
mhm.
And it feels like someone is pouring into you and gently challenging you. The tone
So,
is different, the
okay.
body language is different.
So,
Jab, what do you
jab,
picture?
j what about records of wrong?
So
If
that is,
someone brings up, is that the same thing
they're
as
not safe.
jabbing? They're
It's the
not
same thing as
safe.
jab. The
So
goal
jabbing is
is
not safe, and
uh-uh.
saying, "Well, I told you if you did
Nope,
this
that's not
way or
safe.
that way, this would have
If
happened."
someone
That's
says
not
that,
safe.
walk away from the conversation. Just
They're
say,
not
"Oh,
safe.
no, no, thank you. No, thank you." That's what we could say.
So safe people are people that are going to take what you're
Listen.
saying,
Yep.
listen to what you're saying.
And then here's what they might do if they know how to do this. Shelly, you shared this that you wanted to work out. Do I have the space? Are you giving me the floor to share what I know you've told me before in the past? Because I
Okay.
remember,
Okay.
do you hear the tone?
Yes.
They ask for the
Yes.
invitation rather than taking it,
Right.
right? And
Right.
sometimes you're just listening. Sometimes you just need someone to then listen. But that inward self-reflection does take time because guess what? I have to feel safe with myself, Sometimes we don't feel safe
Mhm.
with ourselves, right?
No, no. I can understand that. I mean, if
Yeah,
anybody's out
yeah.
there that felt like this, I at one point didn't want to make a decision.
That's an example of not
I
feeling
did
safe with
I
yourself.
did not want to make a decision. I felt like every decision I made failed. I
Mhm.
felt like every decision that I made did not end up right. That I I just kept dropping the ball with
Mm,
every decision. And I just was like, okay. And I found myself not making decisions. I
mhm.
found myself not, but I also found myself not having a lot of people that were in my circle that could
Yeah,
help me make healthy decisions.
yeah,
And
yeah.
once I realized that,
Mhm,
I I mentally and purposely looked for people that could.
mhm.
I
Absolutely.
mentally and purposely looked for people that I felt like, okay, they have it on straight, or
Mhm, mhm,
they have the appearance.
mhm, mhm,
I didn't even
mhm,
have the appearance of having it on straight. They have the appearance of having it on straight.
mhm,
Let me see if I can talk to them. Let me
mhm,
see if I can, you know, ride their tail
mhm.
coattail
Yeah. Get
and get
some.
some advice from them.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
so that is something that, if because not a lot of people, some people don't have, and it's sad,
Mhm.
but some people do not have the community
Correct.
within their community
Correct.
to go to
Correct.
people without getting jabs, to go to
Yep.
people
Yep.
without remembering who they were.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I say it all the time when I preach and when I give my Bible studies, that God is not a God that holds up what you used to do
Mhm.
compared to what you do now.
He is
He is
not.
a God
Yep.
that throws your when you say, "God, I'm sorry," he throws that into
Mhm.
a sea of forgetfulness. But
Yep.
as
Yep.
people, we are really, really good swimmers down in that deep,
Mhm.
because we be
Mhm.
swimming deep in there
Mhm.
to pull it back up. And
Yeah. Yeah.
sometimes we do have to go. I had to go through a time of saying, "I'm sorry," to
Oh,
me.
yeah. Absolutely.
You know, I've let you
Absolutely.
down. I
Mhm.
have, I did
Mhm.
everything that I was supposed to do when it comes to my kids.
Mhm.
I'm going to
Mhm.
do everything that I possibly can to make sure that they're okay. But when
Mhm.
it came to me,
Yep.
I put me on the back burner.
Mhm.
I've
Yep.
watched my mom do it.
Absolutely. Pass
That,
down.
it
Pass
comes
down.
right. I watched my grandmother do it. I've
Mhm.
watched the women in my lives put other people before themselves
Mhm.
to make sure that everybody else around them was
Yep.
okay.
Yep. Yep.
And they suffer for it. But,
Mhm.
so you said to take a self inventory.
Mhm. Mhm. Assess the self. Asking your question of what do you want your life to look like? What is it even now? The other is you spoke to breathing. Now, for those that may experience a level of anxiety, this exercise might not be the first one I would encourage you to start with. So, again, for those that experience a level of anxiety, and breathing actually activates more it being more difficult. But for those that are able to do this, the 4-7-8 breath work, 4-7-8. So you are inhaling for 4,
Mhm.
you hold for 7, and then you release for 8. That's a great way, and you're releasing through your mouth. That's a great way to get your body, your internal regulated. So one of the things that we know is that we are often um, dysregulated. We have a challenge. We have challenges like calming ourselves down and centering ourselves. So I
Mhm.
really like the 4-7-8 breath work. Again,
Mhm.
you're inhaling through your nose slowly for 4,
Mhm.
you're holding for 7, and then you're releasing for 8. That's a
Now,
more meditative practice as well for breathing.
I have met more people that are dealing with anxiety than I ever have before, especially
Hmm.
after COVID.
Hmm.
After COVID, a lot of people are dealing with new
Oh
mental
yes,
anxieties that
yep,
you never
yep.
heard of before.
Lots of grief
So if
too
you
because of
do
COVID.
have anxiety, what can you do?
So for anxiety, you want to do more of what is CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, because anxiety is often in the thoughts, which then simultaneously is impacting the body. Okay. I actually, I can share this that when I experienced anxiety more in the thoughts, like, what am I going to do? It's like the what ifs, right? It almost feels like worry.
Mhm.
Now, once I understood that, I was like, okay, well, I know what to do with that. I have to rewire my thoughts. So, oftentimes with CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, you're asking for the proof.
Mhm.
Where is the evidence that I need to be anxious about this thing, which is often in the future? And
Mhm.
so, since there's no evidence right here, I have no reason, right, to
Mm.
hold this anxiety because there is nothing that can back this worry or
Mhm.
this anxiousness up. Now, here's the thing. I began to notice anxiety in the body, which is rapid heart rate, sweaty palms, sweaty body. It actually felt like it was tugging, like straining my heart.
Mhm.
That's what it felt
Mhm.
like. Guess what it was from?
Hmm.
Coffee. I was drinking coffee straight for 10 years because I started after I had my son.
Mhm.
And for those that have had children, you know that sleep is non
Mhm.
existent.
Mhm.
But for so long, I was, of course, I can use the word addicted to coffee. And so that created the physiological symptoms, the
Mhm.
bodily symptoms of anxiety.
Mhm.
So I do like to say coffee, I like to tell people that coffee can induce anxiety. So
Mhm.
being mindful of how much coffee you're drinking, how often you're drinking it. I'm not saying cut it out completely, but
Mhm.
just know that there are other factors that impact
Yeah, I
anxiety.
am that, I'm a different person without my coffee in the morning, but I usually drink maybe 1 cup or 2 cups at the most a day.
Okay.
Um, I realize that with on top of what you're saying, there's this thing that I call stinking thinking.
Hmm.
And the stinking thinking builds the anxiety up
Oh, yes.
because the stinking thinking gets in and
Hmm.
it motivates every thought. It motivates
Hmm.
anger, it
Yep.
motivates
Yep.
fear, it
Yep.
motivates frustration, it
Hmm.
motivates every thought. And one of the
Hmm.
things that I've been doing is just in the midst of the stinking thinking is just telling myself, stop.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And, you know, and, uh, and then when I do that, it's almost trying to shock myself because you have to really think about what was I just thinking about?
Mhm. Mhm.
What was
Mhm.
that? What was on my head? Or
Mhm.
I'll just, do something else
Mhm.
that makes my
Gets
thought
you out of it.
gets
Yeah.
me out of it.
I like to
Now,
ask folks to ask themselves, is this helpful or hurtful? What
okay,
am I getting from this?
right.
How is this helping me? Where am I going with this thought?
Now I want to talk about your book. You have
Mm.
a journal,
I have a
and
journal.
your
I'm proud of
journal,
that journal.
you should be. It's an
Thank you.
incredible journal. I did have a chance to go over it, and your journal is
Yay.
the mindful journal,
Mhm.
and it does ask questions, and it does get the people in a mindset
Yes.
of um,
Reflection and
reflection and
yes.
writing for me is I have to get sometimes I just have to get it off of me.
Yes.
And to get
Absolutely.
it off of me, I write. I used to write poetry. Now I
That's
just
great.
write. And
Mhm.
so when I know that I'm feeling anxious, when I'm feeling worried, when
Mhm.
I'm getting angry really quickly, I realize
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
that's a
Mhm.
trigger
Mhm.
that something else is going on. I need to
Mhm.
write.
Mhm. Mhm.
When
Mhm.
there's words that I can't say, because I know that my words are not coming from a place of uh, goodness,
Sure.
happiness, joy,
Grace. Yeah, graciousness.
grace,
Yep. Yep.
um, forgiveness,
Love. Mhm.
love.
Mhm.
Instead of saying it to that person, I write it.
Mhm.
And then once I write it, I realize that there is there is a huge difference in someone's intentions
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
and someone's nature. We talked about
Mm-hmm.
this a little bit
We
earlier
did.
today on the
Mm-hmm.
phone. And what I realized is that someone's intentions, people normally don't go into a situation intently unless they really just don't like you,
Mm-hmm.
intently
Mm-hmm.
to hurt you,
Right. It's a
intently to
projection.
cause pain. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
their nature of who
Mm-hmm.
they are
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
always going to show up without even having a thought. It's like brushing your teeth. You don't think, okay, let me pick up the toothbrush. Let me
Correct.
pick up the
It's
toothbrush.
automatic.
It's just
Mm-hmm.
kind of automatic. The movements are automatic. And
Mm-hmm.
people's nature is automatic.
Mm-hmm.
And people's nature is when people tell the saying is believe them when they tell you who they are.
Mm-hmm.
But my thing is, I'm going to believe you when you show me who you
Mm-hmm.
are. Because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people know how to speak the game very,
Mm-hmm.
very well. But when it comes to actions, there's so many actions and so many things that people do that are not conscious,
Mm-mm.
that
At
is
all.
unconscious
Mm-hmm.
behavior, but that is their nature. When that
Mm-hmm.
unconscious behavior steps in, that is their nature that you're seeing. So if you see something that is out of nature and
Mm-hmm.
and they do something, and a lot of times we say, oh, well, that wasn't their intention. It wasn't their intention. A lot of people are in
Mm-hmm.
prison
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't their intention.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of happened. The situation kind of
Mm-hmm.
happened. Now, in your book, I found that it gives so much space to write.
Mm-hmm.
It gives so
Yes.
much space to express yourself.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and I really, really appreciate that it has a space where you're not, it's not a, it's a very little guide.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because what
Mm-hmm.
I saw is that you want people to be as authentic as
Yes, they can.
possible. And so
Absolutely.
when people are
Absolutely.
guided in something,
Mm-hmm.
they try to stay within that realm of where they're
Mm-hmm.
being guided.
Because
Now,
the thought is that there's this perfect answer or the right answer. And when we're journaling, it's whatever comes up and out. That's
and
it.
not wanting to make the other person wrong. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
disappoint the other
Mm-hmm.
person.
Exactly. Exactly.
Even in writing something,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we
Yeah.
think,
There's like a worry or fear, like, oh, but
right,
I don't.
I don't want to
Yeah.
make them I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to make them angry. But I
Mm-hmm.
found that in journaling was my sacred place
Yes.
of
Yes.
saying how I felt, saying what I meant, saying intently
Mm-hmm.
what was on my heart to get it out. And then I'm
Mm-hmm.
able to take what I threw up in my notebook, read it back and say,
Mm-hmm.
"Oh,
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Because there are emotions there too. That's what
mhm,
I value about journaling. We're
mhm,
we're often in our head, we have all these thoughts, but we never invite the emotions up. So journaling is the space. And sometimes for some people they don't have that safe space. They don't. That they have a
mhm."
home where people look at their things and read their things, but if possible, journaling as often as possible in a way that's safe and comfortable for you and to you.
Now, Sherry, for people to get in touch with you, they
Yes.
can go to info at
Yes.
sherrywick.com. Is
Yes.
that where they can also get? And I know that on Amazon.com that they can get
Mhm.
your book from Amazon, but they
Mhm.
can go to
Mhm.
your website and order from your website as well.
They can. I will say it's easier to just do Amazon or even just email me at info at Sherri S. Wick. I am excited because I'm going through um, I shared this with you, right? Like I'm going through a transitional season. God is moving me into spaces and places. And so that requires the revamping of websites. But if
Mhm.
you go to my website, sherryswick.com, you'll be able to get to the journal. If you go to Amazon and just you can type in Sherri double R S Wick or even just the title Mindful Journal, it'll come up, or you can shoot me an email. Share info
Now,
at Sherri as well.
is this book a pre-printed book, or can you also get it through ebooks?
You know, that's great. Maybe I need to do that. It's a pre-printed book, but
Okay.
I like that. I like what you just shared. Maybe
Well,
in the future it's going to be an ebook.
it should.
Okay,
It
drop those
should.
nuggets. I'll receive
The
them.
thing is that I am,
That's good.
my one of my dreams of
Mhm.
writing books. I have
Mhm.
like 4 books that I started. And so I'm really working on, God has provided some space. He has, split the seas so I could have some space in getting some of these dreams that I have out
Mm.
on in out and completed.
Mhm.
And I've been looking, and ebooks, hard copy books are never really going to be replaced. But
Mhm. Mhm.
ebooks or where people can print them themselves are
Mhm.
actually becoming more popular
Yeah,
because
that's good.
we always have our phone in our hand, our tablet in our
We
hand,
do.
our
We
lab
do.
book, our lab, what's it called?
Laptop. Mhm.
Laptop. I
Yeah.
couldn't
Well.
think of it. I had a
Mhm.
moment. Our
Mhm.
laptops in our bag. We always have um our gadgets with us.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
I mean, really think about that. That
Oh,
would
I
be
am.
something
I
that,
am.
that you may want to do. But right now it is in paperback. So
Mhm.
they get in
Mhm.
touch with
Mhm.
you at
Mhm.
info at Sherri dot and your Sherri S.
SherriSwick.com.
Wick
Mhm.
and your
Yeah, my website.
sherryswick.com. That's your
Yep.
webpage. And that's how they get in touch with you to get the book.
Mhm.
Now, I saw on your website that also if people wanted to make an appointment with you.
Oh, let's talk about that. Those who are in Illinois. So if you're in Illinois, to the listeners out there, if you're in Illinois, you can visit holisticallydivine.org or holisticallydivine.org is the website.
Okay.
You can also follow us at Holistically Divine Org on Instagram. But those who are in Illinois, feel free to reach out for counseling services. All of our services are virtual. I also have a team of dynamic clinicians that are available as well that can work with them,
In
work with anyone
Illinois.
in Illinois. Yes, yes.
Now you're also in Texas.
I am in Texas. I'm not providing therapy just yet. The
Okay.
goal is to open up a location in Texas to provide therapy so we can have multiple locations. That's one of the things
That's
that
what it
God is.
is.
Yes,
That's
yes, yes,
what's
yes.
up.
Yep,
Yes.
yep, yep.
That's awesome.
Expanding the reach. Expanding the reach. Yeah.
Well, I would love to invite you back. I would love to have you on. I am um there's a new journey that I'm on that it's bubbling, and I'm just
Mm,
like,
I love that.
really? And it's more because of my daughter. But
Mm,
young girls are and the journey of young girls um is just really bubbling up the youth
mm-hmm,
of young girls.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And so I would love to be able to bring you back on at a
mm-hmm.
point in time. And I've been thinking about having, and all the listeners out there, if this is something that you would be interested in, I'm thinking about having a youth summit for young women.
Oh, oh, I love that.
And just, you know, I had
Love
to
that.
learn how to listen to my children.
Mhm.
My
Oh,
son
yes.
gave me some 20-year-old wisdom that just smacked me all
Hmm,
upside my head.
hmm,
It was very hard to hear because you try to be the perfect parent.
mm,
And it was very hard to hear, but it was a truth, and it was
mhm,
his truth.
mhm,
And, and I had to remember, even my daughter, she will ask 100 times in a day, "Mommy, okay? Mommy, okay?" Mommy okay? And I had to ask her, you don't have to be worried. Mommy is okay. But then
Mm.
I had to remember everything I went through, she went through. Everything
Mm-hmm.
I saw,
She's
she
on.
saw.
Yep.
Even though in my head, I was behind closed doors when I had to let some of it go, when I had to release some emotions,
Mm-hmm.
when I
Mm-hmm.
had
Mm-hmm.
to go through and have my fits of rage
Mm-hmm.
because I had to let it out, and I
Mm-hmm.
thought I was doing that behind closed doors. It
Kids
doesn't
hear
mean
and
that
see
she
everything.
does not that she didn't go through the same things.
Yep. Yep.
And there's so many of our children that went through COVID just like we did,
Oh yes.
that went through, watching their parents go through it just like we did. And
Mm-hmm.
the fear that of what's going on now about how many children are literally getting abducted a day.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Mm-hmm.
that fear when we're out in the public, I teach her to stay by me.
Mm-hmm.
But she not only
Mm-hmm.
wants to stay by me, she wants to cling to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I realized that that was some anxiety on her part, that if I cling to you, then I'm safe.
Mm-hmm.
If I
Mm-hmm.
don't, I'm not safe.
Mm-hmm.
And and so I'm really wanting to look at that to see how that can happen, how we can have even a teen summit for male and female teens,
Oh yeah.
of
Oh
to
yeah.
help them mentally, but not
Mm-hmm.
only to help them mentally, but to help them spiritually,
Mm-hmm.
what that looks like, what
Mm-hmm.
God sees about them and how God sees about them. I am really encouraged that you are not only a clinical, that you deal with mental illness and spiritual
Yeah,
all at
mental
the
health
same,
and
and
spiritual wellness.
spiritual
Yes.
and spiritual
Yep.
wellness all at the same part, because it literally goes hand in
It's
hand.
connected.
It literally goes
Absolutely.
hand in hand. And so
Mm-hmm.
when you don't have that, it's really challenging. Sherri, it has
Mm-hmm.
been a pleasure talking to you. I mean,
Mm.
the time has went past so fast.
It
I
has.
have to have you on again. I have to,
I'd be honored.
when you have some more adventures going on, and to tell us about your journey, but just to give us more information of
Mm-hmm.
how
And tips.
and
I
tips
love
on
tips.
how we can. Now, does your website have any tips on
Ooh, keep dropping the nuggets, Shelly. Oh my goodness.
it?
We I'm writing it down. So not yet. Let's just say that. But on Instagram, we have a lot of content that is more of positive psychology, more mindfulness, more gratitude. We
And what is
know
your Instagram again?
it is holistically divine org.
Oh,
Our Instagram is holistically divine org.
okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yep. We know that we know that we can experience two things happening at once. That's dialectical, right?
Mhm.
Two opposing things being experienced at the same time. So I can be sad and joyful. But here's the thing, our brain, though, can only truly operate out of one. So the more that we are and function well,
Well,
the
let me
more
ask you
that
something
we.
about that.
Mhm,
I don't mean to interrupt you.
mhm,
I'm learning about the subconscious.
mhm.
So when our brain can only function out of one, either out of sadness or happiness,
We can experience them both, but to function,
the
that's what, yeah.
function we
Hmm.
so our is that also working from what we have implanted in our subconsciousness?
So the the subconscious is oftentimes the um, I like to say maybe the narrative that has been placed within us.
Mhm.
So, or the story or the generational stuff that's been passed down and it just has not come up and out yet.
Mhm.
Really, you're thinking of, hey, let's give you and your daughter example. Wow, I'm sad
Mhm.
that, right. So this is more of a conscious.
Mhm.
because I'm
Mhm.
able to connect to my sadness. I'm sad that
Mhm.
my daughter has learned this,
Mhm.
and I'm
Mhm.
grateful. So we have
Mhm.
that gratitude emotion. I'm grateful that she's able to communicate with me and tell me this is what
Mhm.
she's learned,
Yeah.
right?
We
The
had
unconscious would
yeah.
have been, oh, that could have that could feel like shame. So the unconscious is like, I'm not feeling shame. I don't want to feel shame,
Right.
right? Right. So now it's not allowing it to truly come
Right.
through and come and manifest. So how do we operate? We operate and we so the Instagram page really is more based on this gratitude, this positive psychology, because that's what we want to exude from our organization. We are not heavily focused on naming all of these diagnoses
Mhm.
because I know the power of labeling, right?
Mhm.
And so I don't want people to say, oh my gosh, now I have this diagnosis and I'm all messed up. We want to empower people to believe that even if you do have some type of something, anxiety, depression, all those other things, mostly everybody does, in some way,
Mhm.
shape, or form, or have had episodes. And then
Mhm.
some who have more of a chemical, right? It's
Mhm.
biological. That's different. Okay.
Mhm.
But for those that are looking for motivational content that helps and reflective questions, check out Holistically Divine org, our Instagram page, to find
Mhm.
more of that information.
It has been a pleasure.
Yes,
It
same.
has been a pleasure.
I'm
You
grateful.
know, I work really, really hard to push through, and I work really hard to make sure that my daughter has the confidence
Mm-hmm.
to talk to me, to share with me, to
Mm-hmm.
express. You know, I'm still learning how to take what she says and really put it in the box of this is her truth. You
Mm-hmm.
know, not to that she's not me
Mm-hmm.
and that this
Mm-hmm.
is her truth. I mean, she's very resilient. So,
Mm-hmm.
but everything that you're saying is really good. Now, do you work with teens?
I don't. That's too close to home. My youngest client, I would have to say would have to be around 16 or 17. As my son gets older, I want to make sure that I remain ethical and sound. And I don't want any of that what's called counter transference. So I don't work with children. And as he gets older, I'm slowly starting to say I don't work with teens because I do believe that to work with a teen, you have to work with a parent. I'm a
Uh-huh.
parent, right? Like of an emerging. He's 10, but
You know,
16,
10 is such
17
still a
or
good age.
older.
There's you 10
It
is that
is.
juicy, like, biting a peach good.
That's why I want to stay the mom. Okay, I don't. I don't want to do anything therapy wise, but I would say 16, 17. It also depends on the cognitive development and the maturity level as well.
And the
And then
hormones,
up.
girl, when
Oh
them
my gosh,
hormones hit, them hormones take you to a
they do.
whole
They do.
another place.
They
But,
do.
it has been again, it has been a pleasure,
Yes.
Sherry. I am so glad
Same.
that we had you on, The Way Christian Talk. I'm so glad
Thank
that you
you.
were able to come on with us. I
Yes,
am
ma'am.
grateful that you shared your pearls with us and gave us some nuggets. And you guys remember to go to sherryswick.com, which is her
Yes.
website, that you are able to get her book, her journaling book,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Yay.
the mindful journal, and that
Mm-hmm.
it is for you to go through your trials and tribulations and journal. It is so important to do that. Remember that she is taking appointments.
Mm-hmm.
You
In
can
Illinois.
in Illinois. You can set up appointments on her website if you live
Mhm.
in Illinois.
Yes.
Um, can they call you for references if they're not in Illinois?
Oh, absolutely. So, and I'll just say this Psychology Today, but then therapy for Black girls, therapy for Black men. But yes, reach out. We're big on giving referrals and resources. So reach out to
Okay.
us. And we have relationships in various states as well. So please, if you
Okay.
don't know where to go, reach out to us so we can get you a place to start. Yeah, thanks for asking it.
That's so I always ask, and I did not tell you this, so I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Okay.
I always ask all of my guests to leave the audience with a last saying.
Mm,
What would be your last saying?
it would be, you are loved and more important than you realize.
Hmm. You are loved and more
And
important
more
than you
important than you
realize.
realize. Oh
That's
yeah.
big. That could start a whole nother conversation, that one saying there. Sherri, I
That's my
thank you for being
saying.
on our show. I'm definitely going to have you back. We're going to have to talk some more. Um, I'm serious. I'm going to get in touch with you and see if I can have
I
you back,
receive it.
in September. I would love to have you back in September
Thank
and to see
you.
where we can go and how we can, continue to work together. It
Yes.
has been a pleasure. It has been a
Mhm.
pleasure. I
Thank
will
you.
definitely talk to you later.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye. All right, guys, that was Sherri S. Wick. I enjoyed her tremendously, and I know that you did too. I just want to thank you guys for joining me on the Way Christian Talk. Please, if you're on Facebook, share, like. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. I cannot say it more, and share this information with people that you know that can use this. To be mentally healthy is an ongoing journey. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. It's a marathon that will last as long as you have breath in your lungs. You will be running this marathon to have a healthy mental health, to be healthy within your mind. It's a marathon. To be spiritual healthy, it is a marathon. It is not a sprint. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Thank you so much for being here. Join me next week at 7 p.m. on the Way Christian Talk, and we'll see you later. I hope that you guys enjoyed this talk as much as I did. I definitely did. You guys be blessed. And remember what Sherri said: you are loved and more important than you think. You are more important than you think. There is someone that's in your life that has benefited from you being here, being present, and being active. There's someone that you may not even know, but there is. You're more important than what you think, and you are loved. All right, guys, join me next Thursday at 7 p.m. right here on Facebook and on YouTube. And I will see you guys later. Like I always say, you pray for me, I'll pray for you. I love you guys, and stay safe. Bye bye.